Chapter 10. Thankful. Jack opened his eyes. He sighed. They were wearing their old clothes again. His leather bag was a backpack. Sunlight slanted through the treehouse window. As always, no time at all had passed in Frog Creek. "Home," said Annie. She held up the pouch of corn seeds. "Proof for Morgan we found a special magic." "The magic of community," said Jack. Annie placed the pouch on the floor, next to the scrolls from Shakespeare and the twig from the gorillas of the cloud forest. "Let's go," she said. Jack took the research book out of his pack. He left it under the window. Then they climbed down the rope ladder. As they started through the woods, a warm wind blew, rattling the leaves. Jack felt happy. He was looking forward to visiting their grandmother today and seeing their cousins and aunts and uncles. "You know, Pilgrim kids had a really hard life," said Annie. "Yeah, they did as much work as the grown-ups," said Jack. "Maybe more." "Worst of all, lots of their friends and family members died," said Annie. "Yeah," said Jack. Both were silent for a moment. "If they could be so thankful," said Annie, "we should be really thankful." "No kidding," said Jack. "Really, really thankful." And they were. Here's more facts for Jack and Annie and you. In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln designated the last Thursday in November as a National Day of Thanksgiving. But in 1939, President Franklin D. Roosevelt changed it to the fourth Thursday in November, in case there were ever 5 Thursdays in the month. Wampanoag means people of the first light. When the Pilgrims arrived, the Wampanoag people had lived in southeastern New England for thousands of years. They were experts at hunting, fishing, and planting. Squanto's real name was Tisquantum. He was a native of, I think this is Petue people? I'll have to look that up, which belonged to the Wampanoag Federation of Tribes. The Petue had lived in Plymouth before the Pilgrims arrived. But when Squanto returned to Plymouth in 1619, after being kidnapped as a slave, he discovered that all his people had died in a plague in 1617. Since Squanto knew English as well as the language of the Wampanoag, he helped negotiate a peace treaty between the Pilgrims and Chief Massasoit. Less than half of the original Pilgrims survived their first terrible winter. But after that, their numbers began to grow. More and more people came from England. Within 10 years, the population of Plymouth Colony rose to almost 2,000. Priscilla Mullins was the 18-year-old daughter of a shopkeeper. In the general sickness of the first year, she lost her parents and her brother. In 1623, Priscilla married another pilgrim, John Alden, a barrel maker. Priscilla and John had 10 children. The character of Mary was based on Mary Allerton, who was a small child when the Pilgrims landed in Plymouth. She was the last survivor of the Mayflower's passengers. She died at Plymouth in 1699 at the age of 83.